You're listening to a Bespoken Media production.
I'm glad I didn't have to go and fight.
I'm thankful that those old men, the ones still living yet, keep talking of VE Day and won't let us forget.
Welcome to New Frontiers, brought to you by Scotland's Veterans Wellbeing Alliance. I'm Richard Henderson.
And I'm Hannah Utley.
New Frontiers is a podcast that shines a light on the amazing charities across Scotland that are supporting veterans and their families to thrive in Civvy Street.
This episode is all about social activities. We'll be hearing about how getting together can be vital for veterans and their families, whether it's marking a special occasion or just having a catch-up.
A bit later on, I'll be heading to the Isle of Lewis to have a bacon roll, more likely two, at a breakfast club for veterans and their families.
But first, the 8th of May 2025 was the 80th anniversary of Victory in Europe Day, or VE Day. There was a special event here at Edinburgh Napier University, which saw veterans and serving personnel come together with the wider community to celebrate and remember.
So here we are, it's the 8th of May. It's 80 years since Victory in Europe Day. We're at Craig Lockert, we're in the chapel. We're having fantastic lunch, it's been laid on for us. We've got a lot of veterans here, we've got a lot of young cadets, we've got some of the officer training, a lot of familiar faces and encouragingly a lot of new faces as well. So the day's going to consist of, we've had some introductions, we're going to have our lunch, we're going to have some cake because it wouldn't be a victory parade or a victory day without cake. We're then going to go on and we're going to have some arts and crafts. And we've got the dogs here from Bravehound as well. So we're just looking forward to a really nice day of celebration and also a day very much to reflect. There's going to be some poems read later on, which I think will really hit home and really keep it fresh in everyone's mind what today's all about. I think it's very important that we continue to celebrate these days. The sacrifices that so many people gave. We talk about futures. They gave their futures so we could have our future. And I think in the ever-changing world that we live in and the strains and the pressures that everyone feels, it's good to look back and remember, because if we don't remember and we don't learn, history will just repeat itself, and we need to make sure that we don't lose another generation to war. So I think what we'll do is we'll take a little walk around the room and see who we can have a chat with and see what exciting people are out there and what they've got to say.
Hi folks, lovely to be here at this occasion. My name's Steve Small. I'm the Artistic Director of Strangetown Theatre Company. It's a theatre company for children and young people. And I'm delighted to introduce Grace and Lovell, who are going to read some poems. They're dressed in costumes from a play that we did set in 1942. So over to them.
Victory in Europe by John Carter Brown. 50 years ago, to some it doesn't mean a thing. It happened long ago.
It's just a thing they talk about, those old men down the street. Today's kids cannot understand. They never felt the heat.
They never knew the torment, the heartache, pain and death. They'd never seen a soldier that's fighting for his breath.
The victory in Europe was certainly hard won for who lost a brother, a father, or a son.
For men who gave the ultimate upon some foreign land, a poppy for a headstone, now growing in the sand.
This victory in Europe, about which now I write, it made me free. I'm glad I didn't have to go and fight.
I'm thankful that those old men, the ones still living yet, keep talking of VE Day and won't let us forget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to see a familiar face here in Neil Morrison, who coordinated Veterans Scotland's health and well-being.
What today means for me? Well, it means a great deal. I was a soldier for over 50 years, and I felt that service was the most important thing I did. I didn't do lots of operational stuff like a lot of more recent soldiers did. All I did was 3 Northern Ireland tours. But those who fought in Afghanistan and Iraq deserve our admiration, as do those who gave up their lives for years and their families for years to go and defend our country during the Second World War. So few of them remain, and they really should be cherished, as should their memory.
So my name's Stephen Coburn. I served the Touring Commando Regiment. I had an active tour in Northern Ireland, South Armagh. Yeah, so since leaving the forces I've had various different roles in social work, social care. I helped set up the Veterans Community Cafe in Broughton Street, which is still going. And I'm currently the advocacy worker for CAPS, which is an independent advocacy organisation. There's 2 sides, there's individual advocacy and collective. I'm part of the collective advocacy team, and my role within that is to travel the length and breadth of Scotland and to try and get some groups together, for the groups to come together, strengthen numbers, and to let the veterans who sometimes find it hard to get their voices heard, then to give them a platform for their voices to be heard. That would be my role within that. I think VE Day is so important. I'm going to steal a wee phrase that gets a military slogan, but lest we forget. You know, it's I don't think there's anybody in this room that was alive on VE Day, but what the sacrifices that were made to give us a quality of life and a way of life that we have to this day, we should never forget that. And I think it's really important. There's kids here today that we're all reminded of everything, especially in the current climate, global climate of the world. Let's not forget what our ancestors went through to give us what we have today. So I think it's really important that we continue celebrating and marking this a very important day.
Okay, my name is Dr. Maggie Anderson. I'm a lecturer at Napier University. I'm also the university academic lead in education for the military and for armed forces. So it's interesting because I'm actually wearing a scarf today, which is red, white and blue, which is actually my mum's scarf. So I grew up in Northern Ireland, and I worked out today that my mum would have been 15 on VE Day, and my sister and I were talking about, I wonder what she celebrated. So it's been really nice watching it and just kind of thinking about students and so on who are obviously in the armed forces. So I think VE Day just makes us stop and think, and I think that's really important.
VE night. I'm going to see a bonfire on a hill. To celebrate VE night, the memories linger still. It's 60 years ago now, and many things have passed. But the celebrations left impressions that will never last. We never seen a firework or pretty colored rain. The only rockets we ever knew inflicted deadly pain. We'd seen the dockside burning, incendiaries in the street. But to dance around that bonfire, we thought a wondrous treat. The searchlight that had chased the planes made a pattern in the sky. The church bells who turned sirens we heard on hilltop high. We sang and danced and cried and laughed. And we went down the hill, and dawn was breaking far away. That memory lingers still.
Unfortunately, all good things have to come to an end. I've got to say what a fantastic day we've had here at Craig Locker. I've spoken to some really interesting people, heard some fantastic stories. There's a really good mix of ages here and experiences, There's been the one thing that's come across the most is how important it is to keep celebrating VA Day. It means so much to so many people at so many age groups. It hits them in so many ways. Most people now, there's very few people still alive that were there to witness it themselves. But it's been passed down from generations and generations through stories and emblems, parts of clothing, and it means so much to so many people. And I think that's testament to the sacrifice that generation made. And I think it's really positive to see that we're not letting that die with them. We're celebrating that, and we're keeping that going, and we're keeping their memories alive and the sacrifices that they made. So it's been a fantastic day. Really enjoyed it. What a turnout we had there.
I know, I'm sad to miss it, to be honest. It sounds fantastic.
The food was great. The banter was great. I thought that the kids that did the poetry reading, I thought they were fantastic. I mean, that's a big intimidating room for them to stand up and say their piece, and I thought they did it so well. Yeah. And I think it was heartfelt by a lot of people in there to see that the younger generation is still remembering.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see how that much younger generation that where, you know, not even their parents, maybe not even their grandparents will remember these times. So that's always really interesting to hear that it does actually feel important to them and they are interested in it.
It's a day that you think as time goes on, with so many conflicts going on in the world as well, I think it makes it almost more relevant that we don't forget and we keep celebrating, because we wouldn't be doing this podcast if we hadn't won.
I think it was Stephen that said something about, you know, we have to remember, because if we've got this peace, and if we lose that, then does that make what these men and women did, does that make it matter less? Do we value it less if we lose that peace? Anyway, Richard, you've been all over the place, haven't you? Here, there, everywhere. Next, I believe you're off to Lewis to meet some veterans at a breakfast club in the main town of Stornoway.
You're right, I have been on my travels. I took a trip with Professor Jerry Matthew Smith, who's the director at the Centre of Military Research, Education and Public Engagement at Napier University.
Please remain seated with your seatbelt securely fastened until the captain has switched off the seatbelt sign. Thereafter, we recommend that you keep your seatbelt securely fastened whenever seated.
That's us now coming into Stornoway, and if you look down you can actually see, you know, that we're actually coming into a place where there's a lot of archipelagos and things like that, so it's a fascinating way to be able to come in and actually see the small islands that we're coming to. So here's to a good trip.
Just like double check levels. What did you have for breakfast?
Well, I had a fantastic piece of Stornoway black pudding. I don't know why I had to put an accent on there. It wasn't even the correct accent. So we're here in Stornoway with Professor Jerry, and we're going to go and visit the Veterans Breakfast Club on the island to find out a lot more about what's going on, what affects them, and just really looking forward to having a good morning of conversation. Can I ask you how you got involved with the breakfast clubs up here?
We were doing a study about 3 years ago on transitions, and we felt that we really needed to involve all of the parts of Scotland, and so we came up here and went to a couple of the islands and discovered that the breakfast clubs were the new sort of initiative, which was really getting a lot of veterans to come in and meet together and socialise. And so we started to work with them around about what we wanted to find out. But it wasn't just about coming and talking. We wanted a two-way dialogue, and we wanted to maintain that relationship. So we've come up twice since then and spent time working with them and getting to know them and understand the issues. They're a brilliant group of people. I think we'll have a lovely time with them this morning, and I think what they're actually doing is really making a difference to the lives of lots of people maybe who might be quite isolated.
So you're based in Edinburgh. Most of the veteran community is Central Belt. Can I ask you why you feel it's important to come up here?
We actually suspected that most of the veteran community is not the Central Belt, and that actually from hearsay and things like that, before the census outcomes, that there were a lot of veterans who were living on the islands, and that's absolutely right, there are. And when we came up here, we discovered that there was a big population of people who either came from here and came back, or who have decided to come up and live up here because of the lifestyle. So for us, it was really important that, you know, Scotland is more than the Central Belt, and if you're doing a study about Scotland, then you have to think about the borders, and you have to think about the Highlands and beyond. So my Sunday title is Professor, and I do a lot of research in the area of armed forces. But I am from Edinburgh Napier University Centre for Military Research, and it's a big mouthful, but we've been working and have established that since 2021. And we've come up a couple of times, and I know some of you from the time of when we've come up before. But what's really important for us is to come up and meet you and talk to you and hear what it is that you have to say. Most people think that Scotland is the Central Belt. We think Scotland is the Highlands and the Islands, and the Central Belt and the borders. So we see it as a united kind of country, and that we should be listening to the voices of people from across the country. Thanks very much, and enjoy your breakfast.
Can I just get you to introduce yourself?
Hi, Donald McKeever, ex-RAF. Joined in 1960 as a 16-and-a-half-year-old. Came out in 73, November 73. Went to work in the oil industry and worked in the oil industry ever since. I'm now 81, by the way. Well retired.
So, the Breakfast Club here today, it's busy, we can hear it's busy, there's a good turnout. Do you attend the breakfast clubs quite a lot, and do you think it's quite important for the community here?
It is. It's a pity that we don't do it more often. But it's getting a place. Now that we're aware of this place, we might use it more often. They don't. It's not a frequent thing. We would love to do it more often. Just getting the stories from other people and getting your stories across, you know. The problem we've got here is we lost the Legion way back in 2014. We used to have a beautiful building, but it was just wasn't financially viable. So we had to close it down at 20, and we've got nowhere since. You know, everything sort of went by the wayside. We're still running a Legion, but the membership's gone from 300 and odd. We've now got 19. The RAF Association runs monthly meetings as well, so that sort of helps. There's a Queen's Own Association, Queen's Own Highlanders Association as well, so there's individual. So we try and join, despite the RAF, I'm in the Queen's Own Highlanders Association as well, and they're all in Rafa. So once a month, Rafa definitely meets once a month in the local Masonic Hall of all places. It's getting premises to have a breakfast club. You know, this is the thing.
You know, it's quite a while ago now that you left the RAF. Why is it important to you to stay in touch with other veterans and with that community?
You can't let go of it. You know. And when you spend 13 and a half years, especially from 16 years of age, it's just something that's part of your DNA. You know, if you spoke to my wife about it, she'd just shake her head and go, "You must be joking asking that." I go to reunions every year in RAF, and we meet in May each year because we joined up in May. We all joined up at the same time. So there's a bunch of us. In fact, there was Hexham this year, and that, of course, is dwindled. We're all in the 80s. So this bunch of crotchety old people, we meet somewhere, and it's just a long weekend really. And it's a bit of a pain from here. It's all right for these guys to get in their cars, a lot of them, and they just drive to wherever it is. We've got to fly down to there, fly down to Manchester and make our way from Manchester to wherever. But I find it worthwhile. My wife enjoys it. She meets the other wives, and so she can't shake her head too much because she's just as keen on the chin wag as I am.
I think it's really important to keep that connection, because when you joined at the age that you were as well, it's very informative years.
I mean, just today, you come out, doesn't matter how often you meet, there's always something new. And there's a new face. Drop something into the conversation. Oh, I was there in '67 and all this kind of thing. And then start comparing notes about what it was like when you were there and all the rest of it. It is good. You know that the people around you are like minds. They've all done a certain amount of time in the services, so they know where you're coming from. You know where they're coming from.
So we're here with Peter Avis today.
Yeah, so I've just come down from Nest today. I normally go on a walking group on a Saturday morning around the castle grounds, but this is the unhealthier side. Instead of walking, I'm having breakfast, but it's very nice to meet everybody and to interact.
Peter, would you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself, where you served, how long you served, and how you found yourself in Lewis, because that doesn't sound like a local accent to me.
Okay, so yeah, I'm ex-RAF. Many years ago, I joined the RAF in 1965. I served 9 years in the RAF. When I came out, I went back into Civvy Street in the East Midlands area. All right, how did I come to be here? My wife's sister and husband, they moved here in 1998. And we came on holiday and we liked it. So within a couple of years, we followed them and we came to live here. So that's how we came to be on the Isle of Lewis.
So there seems to be a good veteran community up here in the island. Is it important to you? Do you like coming to these gatherings? Do you get a lot out of it?
Well, I do, because it's social, isn't it? As well as the fact that we're ex-forces, so we're very much like-minded. So yeah, I do so much in being involved. When we have functions, people like Dusty and his wife. Well, his wife's actually a member of the RAF Association because her father was in the RAF, so she joined us. So we do interact quite well. So a lot of it is social, I would say.
Dusty, pleased to meet you. Tell us a little bit about your service, how long you served for, who you served with, and how you ended up in Lewis. Are you born and bred, or did you come here?
I came here, Stornoway, small town Scotland. I'm also from small town Scotland. I got into the army by joining the Army Cadet Force in the 70s in small town Scotland. Wick, we'll call it Wick because it is Wick. It was a real rough, tough fishing culture. My father was a fisherman, and what went with fishing was alcohol. Alcohol was a big thing, and it was a day-to-day thing. You lived with it. And I needed some structure to my life, and I found that structure by joining the Army Cadet Force. So other people joined that with me. And I enjoyed that, and that made me join the Army. And I joined Queensland Highlanders Infantry Regiment. Where I admit, despite trying hard, I found I wasn't the best infantryman, but they found a nice little slot to put me in. I was good at technical stuff, so they put me into the signal platoon. And that's where I spent most of my time. And so coming from Wick, working class guy, I ended up in the army and really had a great time. There were bad times, of course, but seeing the world when you could see the world, where the world to somebody from a working class background in small town Scotland was somewhere you didn't go. I ended up in Hong Kong, Kenya, United States, Canada, Germany, and these were just things that you did not think you would see when you were a teenager in Wick. There were bad things. Ireland, hard work. I'll be honest and say I was very lucky I didn't have anything bad happen to me in Ireland, although I do know people who did. Had bad things happen to them, but they lived, thankfully. One chap got killed in an accident, which was terrible. And we also had, from our regiment, some casualties in the Gulf War, which is a shame. And But it happened. We join up, and that's part of the price you pay.
And can I ask you how long you served in the army?
I did 24 years, more or less, from joining up in September 78 to when I got out in end of June 2002. It seems yesterday and a long time ago at the same time.
So, what made you decide that, okay, it's time for a change, I'm going to go into Civvy Street?
About 22 years of your standard engagement. So it was coming to the end and it was time to get out. Did the army prepare me that well to get out? Probably not. There were resettlement schemes and all the rest of it. Possibly I didn't throw myself into them as much as I should have. But I got out, had some hard times, but now I've found a job that suits me, and I'm doing that job. It supports the Army Cadet Force. I think I suit it. It suits me, and I think we're doing okay over here.
And how did you become to settle in Lewis?
Well, when I left the Army, I joined the Army Cadet Force because remembering what it did for me, I thought, let's give something back. And like I said, I didn't settle that well in any of the jobs, even tried my own small business. That unfortunately didn't work. The job of looking after the Army Cadet Force came over here and I applied for it. And I was actually quite stunned when I got it, but was very happy with that. The original intent was to come over here, do a couple of years, keep an eye on the job market back home. That didn't happen, and here we are 18 years later. I'm still in the job. So
meant to be.
Meant to be, possibly.
Yes. Meant to be. So you mentioned there hard times when you left the services. We hear that a lot, and everyone's experience of transition is very different. People's what affects them when they leave the military is different. The one thing that strikes me is, A, did you look for support? Was the support there? Did you know where to find it or not? Because a lot of the guys that we've spoken to, they've left the military, and it's probably been about 7 to 10 years after they've left where they've started to have, some issues.
We're all rough, tough cream puffs, and we don't need support all the way up to the point where we're probably drowning and long past the point where we should have asked for it. It did happen to me a little bit. I did eventually ask for some support, and I did get it just at the point where I was getting the job over here. So it got me out of what could have been trouble in Wick, just at the point where I came over here. Therefore, it helped me do the transition from struggling without a job, in debt, to over here, steady income, and settled into the job that I had. So it came just at the right time for me. We may have a tendency to put others first and put a task that requires doing first. The task needs done, people needs looking after. These things need to happen, and then you deal with yourself. There's an old military saying, my men, my rifle, myself. Others before you, the task you need to do to get your own personal administration done, and then you look after yourself after everything else is done.
I know a lot of the guys, they've toiled with CVs because no one knows how to big themselves up, because they're always, we've done this, and no, there's got to be I in a CV. And I know there's a lot of learning going on in respects to that. And the Breakfast Club today has been busy. We've seen and met a lot of people today. How important do you think it is to have breakfast clubs?
The Breakfast Club's something to get people out, meeting each other. There are different ways of doing it. This is probably one of the better ones, more informal. We're not turning up expecting to be regimental or senior rank and all the rest of it. We're all just people meeting to have a breakfast and a chat and meeting each other. And because of that informality, that I think makes it more something to come and get together with.
And what would you say the main thing you've taken away from your time in service?
It gave me a sense of organisation and order that has helped me when I left. There possibly have been bad things. I probably am a little bit institutionalised. But that in itself is no bad thing when you see some of the chaos that perhaps goes on in other people's lives who have not had that sense of order that possibly they have needed. So what I would say is that the army in a way saved my life, because if I stayed in small town Scotland, I probably wouldn't have got the order. I would have lived with the small town alcoholism, and a present I got from my mother, she didn't mean it, but that's how nature goes, is hypercholesterol. So small town Scotland, full of chip shops, I would have had a life of alcoholism and food, heavy fried food, and probably have died in my 50s. I got out of it to somewhere where, okay, alcohol was still a big feature of the army, but there was alcohol, lots of exercise, decent food, despite the hard times we give army cooks. It was actually very good food. And it's kept me going. I'm here basically because of the army.
And what would you say the best thing is about living on Lewis?
I'm a small town person, and this is small town Scotland. It's not rushed, it's laid back, it's chill. A good thing about Lewis is it's a long way from everywhere, so there's no sense of rush, because there's no point rushing anywhere because they're a long way from it. And that's very good.
I suppose my question would be, is it good that we come up and chat? Is that welcomed? Is that something that's a positive? Or could we do more?
There's a part of the rough, tough cream puff side of me says, why are they coming sticking their nose into our business? And then there's the other part of me that says, some people need help. And it's trying to get that balance, which I think we're actually doing probably quite a good job of. It's trying to gauge that balance is the hard bit. Stick your nose in too much and people will just back off from you. Try to be too distant, we'll give it, well, that didn't go down well, did it? So you know, it's trying to find that balance. I think you're doing quite a good job of it.
You'll take that.
That was such an interesting question, I think, that Jerry posed there at the end about what do the veterans living in these outlying communities, what do they want? Do they want us to come and, meet them, engage with them, or do they want to kind of be left alone to do their thing?
Yeah, very much so. And the thing is as well up there that we tend to forget, because we become quite, mainland centric, I suppose.
Yeah.
And we need to take into account that the islands have been hit more through loss and conflict per head than anywhere else in Scotland.
Yeah.
Than in the UK even. So they have suffered a lot through all conflicts. When you walk around Lewis, what the one thing that really struck me was there's a lot of signs up for offering support. Now, I suppose it's a little bit easier in a smaller community to do that, but we don't really see that in the cities, and people tended to look out for themselves. There was guys there that came that hadn't been to the Breakfast Club before, and it was great to see them interacting. They were swapping phone numbers and just that whole community spirit. And I do have to say, I did actually get my 2 bacon rolls in.
Very good. I'm very pleased. Growing up on an island myself in Shetland, there's a different dynamic, isn't there? And like you say, it's the community which can bring safety, but also more risk, because people do know you, and if you are outing yourself as needing support, there is more risk in that. So having those supportive places to go is really important, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think going forward, it's a case of, I think the Alliance should be going up there at least once a year, just to touch base, just to see if there's anything that we can help with, and just to help make these connections easier for people.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that came up was the cost of ferries that a lot of the guys can't get to the mainland.
Yep.
Now, is there something we can collectively do to help that?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but these are conversations that need to be had.
Yeah.
And the more we have these, the easier it's going to make life for veterans and the communities up there.
It's about hearing the stories of reflection and remembrance from those communities as well, isn't there? Because often they've got a personal connection. You know, if we think about like Scapa Flow up in Orkney, and you think about the Shetland bus and these different parts of those conflicts that are really specific to that community that we might not know about here in the Central Belt.
Yeah. And well, the other thing as well that we noticed was that they've got a lot of cadets up there as well. You know, so they've got the next generation of service personnel coming through.
Thank you so much to everybody who worked so hard to make the VE Day event happen here at Edinburgh Napier University, and to everybody that Richard met at the Breakfast Club on Lewis.
Thanks so much for listening to New Frontiers from Scotland's Veterans Wellbeing Alliance.
We hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you have, please do share it with somebody you think would find it useful.
You can also help us out by rating and reviewing the podcast in your podcast app.
And have a look at the episode description for links to all the organisations mentioned in this episode.
To find out more about the Scottish Veterans Wellbeing Alliance and the organisations supporting veterans across Scotland, please visit svwa.org.uk.
New Frontiers is produced by Bespoken Media. Recording and editing is by Patrick Wallace, Katie Revel, Ailish Hunter and Dave Howard. The music is Something New by the Eastern Plain.
And it's goodbye from Hannah.
And goodbye from Richard.
Produced by Bespoken Media.